Ladies and gentlemen, I'm back with Durriken, super awesome guy. He is a witch. He works at Chrome's Hollow. He's the general manager.
Mhm.
He's a super nice guy. He's taught me a lot about this world. Actually, the world I had no idea about, but I've learned a lot from him.
Excellent.
Yeah, I really have. I enjoy picking his brain. Here we are again at Chrome's Hollow. You guys should definitely come check this place out if you're ever in Utah.
Mhm.
You'll like it. How you doing, man?
I'm good. How
Yeah,
are you?
I am doing really good.
Excellent.
Yeah, yeah. What's new? How's life?
The world just keeps going as it does. Whether we want it to or not, that's what matters.
Yeah, that I agree on. I've learned to just be calm with myself
Yeah,
when
just let
things
it
go.
happen.
Just let it happen naturally. Yeah,
Mhm.
just let go. Or more importantly, get out of my own way.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. Question for you, brother.
Mhm.
This has been bothering me. As far we're talking about this when we're eating. For people with egos
Sure.
that do magic
Mhm.
and spells. Um, and people that I mean, they say they reach enlightenment, but I feel like they just live behind a veil or take
Mhm.
a quick peek. Now they feel like they're special.
Sure.
Why?
I can't give you fully what the why is.
Yeah, I would
Um,
say it's ego though, right?
but yeah, I can absolutely. It's ego. The kind of example that I can give you is a baby that's learning how to walk.
Okay.
A baby that's learning how to walk doesn't quite know how to run the first time they try, falls on their face. But that baby in that moment believed that they could run because they had just learned how to walk. It's the same sort of thing. People, the ego is part of the illusion that separates us from what exists beyond it. And so your first glimpse of what exists beyond Maya makes Maya come back with a vengeance. And in a anthropomorphic sort of way says, all right, that's all that you're going to get to see. That's all that I'm going to let you see. You are the absolute. You know everything now. And so it's illusion's way of keeping you from progressing further. The only way to drop the ego is to experience it, is to say, yes, I know everything, and then take just one step further and then realize you don't know anything. And in that moment, the ego disappears and Maya lifts.
Would you say it's like a separation between ego and consciousness at that point? Like you separate your ego from your consciousness. Like,
I think ego is part of consciousness
yeah,
because consciousness itself is a construct of Maya so that we can interact with the world in in a useful way. I mean, if we were aware of everything all the time, we would go insane. We wouldn't be able to handle it. So in that way, Maya protects us, but it's part of our consciousness. In order to access what exists beyond Maya, you have to be willing to drop your consciousness. Your complete sense of self has to be gone.
you mean your identity?
Yeah,
Yeah. What did you say? Reprogram
yeah.
yourself?
We have to reprogram ourselves.
Yeah, all those beliefs.
Hmm.
That's why some people say you have to go to your no one, nowhere, no place, no time, and then
Hmm.
yeah, that makes sense. Okay, well the reason I'm asking is because I was telling you that I've been talking to different people,
Hmm.
and some people are able to like go to those places,
Hmm.
but I feel like they're developing really unhealthy egos.
Sure.
Yeah, which sometimes I call them out on it,
Hmm.
and of course they don't like that. But I'm like,
Naturally.
yeah, because they're like, I want to be a healer and help people. This is literally what happened because we had like a 3 hour conversation, and they're like, but I need a prestigious name first. I
Hmm.
was like, why? They're like, well, so people could come to me. I was like, listen, if you just start healing people, the word will get out.
Yeah,
I'm like, you will, like, literally, if you can actually put your hands on people and heal them, word will
absolutely.
get out. Yeah, and people will just come to you. They'll name you. They're like, no, I need a name. I was like, that is literally your ego talking.
Hmm.
If you wanted to do it, you would start today. They didn't really like that.
Well, we're being human beings and being social creatures by nature. We crave being social, and we crave the authority that others put in us. I'm sure you've heard about the psychological experiments. I think it was in the 60s or the 70s.
Stanford,
Yeah, where the uh, psychology students were separated into prisoners and prison guards.
Yeah, the
And
Milford Stanford experiments.
yeah, and it's the same sort of situation. It's just got a spiritual flag wrapped around it.
Yeah, but the thing is, the scary thing is, those people voluntarily gave their power away,
True.
and they forgot that they could have left at any time.
Mm-hmm.
And what happened is the guards just got just more violent and vicious
Mm-hmm.
when they're just all playing a role.
And there's an interesting lesson to learn in that spiritually and how it relates to ego.
How? Tell me, what's the lesson?
What do you think the lesson is?
Oh, the lesson is be careful. Do not give your power away. And when you are given power, do not abuse it.
Okay, it's a good lesson to learn from it.
All right. What do you think? Did I miss the point or what?
No, I don't think you missed the point at all. I think you gave the answer for where you are on your path right now.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
think it would spoil it for you if I told you what my answer is.
Nice. Okay. Cool. Right
Not
on.
that I'm, more advanced than you or anything like that. It's just we're on two different paths. Your answer makes sense for you where you are now.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I like to hear archetypes a little more. Yeah, which is cool, dude. You always want to look out for other people. We're talking about society and how we should all coexist in one society.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
And when you're more balanced and you see people that are weak and helpless
Mm-hmm.
and they're being preyed upon,
Yep.
you should take upon yourself to help them.
Lynn, I was reading. I don't know how long ago, but it was about economics and the economics of the past. How a lot of people like to romanticize the idea of bartering as the original form of economics. When you look at societies who exist without economics as we understand it, they don't barter. They have neighbors, and their neighbor needs this, so they give them that as a gift, a gifting kind of economy.
Yeah.
And that's how we grew up as a species, was gifting to our neighbors. It wasn't so that our neighbors would give us something. It was just that's what we did. And people, I feel, have started to fall away from that severely. And you can blame whatever forces you want. In the end, we all have to take responsibility for our own actions. And if you're going to live in society, you have to be willing to be a member of that society. And being a member of that society means looking at your neighbor in need and giving them something without any strings attached.
Yeah, I agree. That reminds me of the Indians or like the indigenous people of Mexico
Mm-hmm.
when Cortes came and the other Europeans.
Mm-hmm.
They said apparently it was very hard for them to realize who was the rich person and who was the poor person because just like you said, they were like a giving society.
Mm-hmm.
They would all just help each other.
Sure.
And when you need something, harvest, you just share it.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's interesting because they said it was very hard to distinguish that hierarchy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there was like a king or high priest.
Yeah, and how the society looked at the king and the high priest, or the medicine man or medicine woman, the shaman. It wasn't about wealth. Their needs were taken care of course.
Mm-hmm.
In the case of indigenous kings, it's because they are, well, not just indigenous kings. They are God. They are gods, and you take care of your gods. People who know herb lore, who are able to perform the healings and retrieve souls from the dream world, you treat them special. And they're not rich,
But they have a
but
special
but
need.
you give them their place in society. You elevate them and make them special. It's the way. I think it's the way humans have always been. There are those of us who are special, who have access to information that others may not, who are gods, in the case of kings, blue bloods and whatnot. Society recognized that and lifted them up. And so eventually a hierarchy formed, absolutely. But in the very beginning, the hierarchy wasn't about wealth or status. It was about what you did for your people.
Yeah, and I feel like those we could call them shamans, medicine men, uh, witches, wizards. They brought value to the marketplace,
Sure.
well, which is like the people.
Yeah.
I
They
mean,
they completed the ecological system.
okay. Now another thing that's been bothering me for months, I need to ask you because we were talking last time about spells,
Mm-hmm.
and you could have like a simple spell where you just want a girlfriend,
Mm-hmm.
and you could find a girlfriend,
Mhm.
and it gets more complex the more detailed
Mhm.
it gets. Like you want a 5'8" beautiful blonde girlfriend, whatever that speaks French, Italian, and German.
Mhm.
It's going to be a little more challenging. But you said it's easier to break that spell.
It is.
Can you elaborate on that, brother? I couldn't
Yeah.
wrap my hand around it.
Sure. So the more moving parts that a spell has, just like in the world, the more moving parts something has, the easier it is to break. It's easier to break a motorcycle than it is a bicycle. Even though they have similar parts, the bicycle has less parts, and so it's harder to break. Magic works the same way. In order for something to be true, it has to be true on both planes. So the magic, you've got all of these moving parts that are going into it when you're specifying that. I don't need to break the entire spell. I just need to break a single component of it.
You mean like throw a wrench in the machine, in a
Exactly.
sense, and it'll destroy haywire.
Exactly. So in this case, a blonde woman who speaks Italian, German, and French. What I can do is throw a kind of a counter spell that says, okay, he will never meet somebody who speaks French. Your spell's broken.
Okay.
That's an example. It's not something. I mean, I don't care who you fuck. That's up to you.
Well, yeah.
You'll have to censor that, I'm sure.
Nah, I don't care, bro. There's no little kids watching this. Okay, no, that makes sense. That is something that was kind of something I was trying to wrap my head around
Mhm.
because I'm not really like practicing spells and stuff like
Mhm.
that. I'm more into like manifesting things
Sure.
myself, and also just just trying to master my own domain.
Yep. And manifesting, if you have that many components,
Mm-hmm.
it's harder for you to wrap your brain around all of it. And in that, you're not able to get intention into everything, but the manifestation itself wants to have everything that you've given it. And so it's harder for it to crystallize if you have that many components to it. So be specific, but don't be so specific that you've talked yourself out of your own manifestation.
Got it. Yeah, that does make sense. I've been reading a lot, like even with manifesting or just like doing meditations and things like that. The people that are able to like truly break through are the ones that are sick
Mm-hmm.
because they just want one thing: to be healthy.
Yeah.
That's it, dude. Like like this is clear. This is as clear as day, dude. They just want to be healthy.
And it's such a simple spell. It's such a simple form of manifestation.
just to be healthy.
And all of their energy goes into that. They're not saying, I want to be cancer free or I want to be healthy. So it's, I just want to be healthy. And that idea is so easy to wrap your head around because their body naturally knows what is healthy.
Yeah.
And so their body will start activating the magic just by thinking that.
Nice.
Just with the very first steps. People who, for instance, want to lose weight and their body knows what their true weight should be, not what everyone says it should be. Their body will do everything that it can to help them get to what healthy is for them. But it all starts with that very first thought. It's not, I want to weigh 210 pounds or 150 pounds. It's, I want to be healthy.
Got it. I know you're oversimplifying it, but it really is that simple.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's just, I want to be healthy,
Mm-hmm.
and then you could become healthy. Right. Because I've seen a lot of people. I mean, I haven't seen anyone lately manifest a Ferrari or anything like that, but I've seen people with my own eyes cure like stage 4 cancer
Mhm.
and stage 3 cancer that they're battling. It's a little harder because they're in the program.
Mm-hmm.
They've been fighting it for like 5 years, 6 years,
Mm-hmm.
and they've talked to like all these like really smart, prestigious people with degrees on their walls,
Mm-hmm.
and they all told them this is how it is. This is the nucleus and the cells. So they're getting programmed.
Mm-hmm.
So you just reprogram yourself.
Yep.
Yeah. Got it. Why do you think? I mean, because now I'm interviewing scientists too. I don't know. Why do you think they're like very standoffish when it comes to things like this, like magic, spells, manifesting things, the power of your mind overcoming your body?
I think part of it is that Western science is different than Eastern science.
Yeah, big time.
So, I mean, from my understanding, in China, you can use acupuncture. You can be both a doctor and still use acupuncture. From my understanding, I could be wrong.
Acupuncture is effective, by the way. At least I find it to be.
And Western society views that with suspicion. Part of it, I mean, if we go back for far enough, I think that the reason that it exists that way ultimately comes down to the belief that you can have no other gods except one God. You look around the world at people who exist in native religions.
What do you mean native?
So, for instance, Shinto in Japan. You can be a Shinto and a Buddhist and whatever else you want to be. Whereas in Western society, you can only be one religion. You can be Muslim, you can be Jewish, you can be Christian, but you can't be a Christian Jew. You can't be a Muslim Hindu. And so that idea creates
separation.
It creates separation, but it creates the nucleus of the idea that creates standoffishness. Now, scientists have a great wealth of knowledge, and they should, if they're good scientists, they should admit that they don't know what they don't know. The problem I think that most scientists have with spirituality is saying, I know what you don't know. And I think a really good spiritual person needs to have the skeptical mind of a scientist and say, I don't know what I don't know. And I don't know if what I do know is real. It goes back to the ego thing.
It comes down to just them not knowing.
Well, scientists don't know. And we don't know. I think if we meet science from that same place of not knowing, scientists, they're humble in their own way. They're humble, or at least they should be humble in their not knowing. And we should respect them for what they do know. If we didn't have scientists, we wouldn't have cell phones. We wouldn't have the internet. We wouldn't have plastic surgery. We wouldn't have insulin.
That's important, brother.
And so I think part of their standoffishness has come also from our own standoffishness, our desire to lord over them. And then, you take a look at the persecution that scientists have faced historically. I'd be standoffish too.
You mean like Galileo?
Like
he
Galileo.
had to wait until he died to really reveal that the universe is, doesn't revolve around
Copernicus.
the Earth. Yes.
Even Einstein.
Yeah, Einstein got a lot of shit. But Einstein said that the more important than information is imagination.
True.
Because imagination is what can happen.
Okay. I didn't know that he said that.
Yeah. So. I just thought it was beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because information is everything we know then and now.
Mm-hmm.
And imagination is everything that can happen tomorrow.
What I appreciate about Einstein, it's the same thing that I appreciate about Carl Sagan, is they were able to think in metaphor. And, a lot of scientists that I listen to on YouTube and that I respect a lot, they talk about Einstein's God.
Einstein's what?
God.
Mm.
And it's a metaphor. It's, spiritual people and religious people can grab onto that and say, see, even Einstein believed in God. And they're not seeing the metaphor in it. The language of spirituality is metaphor. The language of science is fact, it's presence. Some scientists and some spiritual teachers are able to blend the two languages to make it more accessible. Would chemistry have ever been invented if the alchemists hadn't started playing around first?
Probably not.
Would botany have been understood if people hadn't started working wort cunning, herb knowledge?
No.
It's the same sort of thing.
By the way, I also learned about green magic.
Awesome.
Yeah, from that same lady in Mexico.
Awesome.
Yeah.
What did you learn?
Dude, like healing spells a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently there's some bad ones that she doesn't really want to do.
Sure.
I met a lady in Mexico. I've talked about her a couple of times. She's a bruja, as they say. She just had a whole forest full of just like different stuff. She was showing me, she's like, you see this one? You mix it with this one. It can cleanse you.
Mm-hmm.
Helps you with COVID, other stuff. And I visited her about 3 times.
Mm-hmm.
The first time, I remember I told you I was kind of weirded out because I went in and I saw like bone straws and I saw apple on top and a candle.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, dude, this is from like Snow White. and then like it led to a forest. And apparently she's like, oh, I have a cave with snakes. Do you want to come see it? And I was like,
Nice.
no.
Oh man, I'd love to have gone.
Well, it was like the beginning of a horror movie. And like, why'd she go into the cave? But now, honestly, I would go. Now that I know her and she's gifted me,
Mm-hmm.
and I know her a couple times, I feel more comfortable. And I'm not seeing the world I'm just seeing it the way it is.
Mm-hmm.
And for her, it was completely normal. She wasn't trying to brag or show off or anything or scare me for that matter.
Mm-hmm.
It was just the way it was.
Sure.
Yeah. But with the green magic, she was just telling me about like different spells that help people with like fertility
Mm-hmm.
and just a lot of times people that are sick or have issues.
Mm-hmm.
And the funny thing was, when I was there, dude, a couple of times, she's always busy. Like there's always people coming.
Mm-hmm.
Either they need help or they have asked for the help and they got it.
Mm-hmm.
And they're there to thank her in some one way or flowers or something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I knew she was the real deal because first of all, she's not like advertising. She's not on really social media. I had to find her through like talking to a bunch of locals,
Mm-hmm.
and she's way out of the beaten path. And when I tried to give her money for her time, she's just like, "That's paper. Like, what are you doing?"
What am I supposed to do with
Like,
this? I
what am-
can't eat it.
Yeah, yeah. So I was like, "Dude, this is like legit."
Mm-hmm.
So I was actually happy that I actually met someone that like is this a legit witch.
Well, and I think that the majority of practitioners do exist in that kind of shadowy space outside, but still part of.
But I don't like the fact that they're frowned upon by science, because there is something there, brother. Like now that I'm embarking on this adventure of like just meeting different people and picking their brains, and I hear the same story
Mm-hmm.
from 10 different people that don't know each other. You're like, at some point you have to stop. You're like, okay, this is very, very likely.
Well, it's I believe very strongly in science. I think science is the best way to explain this world. I think that science is catching up to some of the ideas that spiritualists have had.
But the hippies, it's funny, they were talking about vibrations and energy in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, and they were being mocked for it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, like 2022, they're like, okay, there's definitely something there.
Yeah.
fMRIs, you strap it on people, and you put stuff on their skin, you could tell
Mm-hmm.
that they could change their vibrational state.
And I mean, humans, you put a human, we emit photons.
Yeah.
We are beings of light, literally.
Do you know what that means when you actually admit it? It's called enlightenment.
Yeah.
Literally, that's literally what it means.
Yeah. To
Yeah.
lighten. Yeah.
Yeah.
The I think that it would be wrong as a spiritual person to judge science with as harsh a light as science judge spirituality. I like to I love science. I mean, I think it's just damn neat. I am a Star Trek nerd. I'm a Trekkie. I love that science in Star Trek has taken us so far.
Star Trek, yeah, is awesome, dude.
And one of the best, if not the best, series of Star Trek is Deep Space Nine. And Deep Space Nine, what sets it apart, aside from the fact that it's on a space station, is that it incorporated spirituality in almost every episode in some way. Spirituality, the Bajoran spirituality, managed to make its way into it.
Can I just jump into it and watch it? Or do I have to watch 1 through 8?
You can just jump into it and watch it. I'd recommend watching all of it, of course, 1 through 7. But yeah, it starts getting meatier. I think it's around season 3. So you can start there if you wanted to, but the very first episode is very, very good.
I'll watch 9. I don't know if I watched 8 seasons before, but I will definitely watch it because I don't take your words lightly.
Yeah, so I mean, there's science can mock us, and it's fine. Yeah, let them mock, and if we're right, so be it. If we're wrong, so be it. I don't see scientists going around and stopping people from believing what they believe. I do, however, see believers going around trying to stop scientists from doing what they need to do. An example is teaching creationism in science class. No, it's a religious belief and doesn't belong in science because science is teaching something different. You wouldn't teach Spanish in a philosophy class. Why would you teach religion in a science class? And I think that good scientists will say, you can't prove, which is true, you can't prove it with scientific certainty.
But now I'm uncovering this. The scientific method doesn't work too well when it comes to magic
No,
and
that's
consciousness.
absolutely true.
So now we're in a conundrum because the scientific method it's not like we're building a rocket. You
Right.
do this and that. You build it. You launch it off. Boom, it works. You multiply it. You've told me magic there's so many different factors, brother.
Mm-hmm.
There's the water, the light,
Yep.
the moon, the earth. You cannot pinpoint that again
Exactly.
and replicate it. So the scientific method.
The scientific method is perfect for what science uses it for.
Right.
It cannot be applied to spiritual practices like magic. It can barely be applied to psychology.
Barely, brother.
And it's barely being applied to crossover ideas like yoga and meditation. Why does meditation work the way that it works? Well, science can give you some of the answer, but it doesn't give you the full answer.
They just say there's a correlation. They can't give you an accurate answer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you can have two people meditate for the same amount of time
Mm-hmm.
and come up with two wildly different results. So the scientific method is good for what science uses it for, but it's not so good magically.
Yeah.
And knowing that it is two different languages allows space for science to do what it needs to do, us to do what we need to do. And when science realizes something that we've been doing and incorporates it into science, we get to sit back and say, awesome, you did good.
You did. That's a good way. That's a very healthy way to look at it. Yeah. I'm getting some like pushback from like scientists when I taught them.
Sure.
Yeah. Or at least they say I don't know about that.
Mm-hmm.
That's not my area of expertise.
Yeah.
That's just their way of dodging it. But they're like anything's possible. So
Well,
I
I
actually
mean,
appreciate it.
There's a lot of science that I'm not an expert about. I mean, I don't know how to build rockets. I don't know how to build a car. Microwaves are just absolutely magical to me because I don't know how to build one. I have enough scientific literacy to know what it is that I don't know and to not fuck around with what I shouldn't be fucking around with.
That's how I am with Ouija boards. Man, I haven't thought about
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
And
Which, by the way, they have classes here on that.
yes, we do. And so, I think that we need to recognize science for what it is and not expect it to be what we want it to be.
Okay. Got it. Yeah. I just feel like, I'm doing this because I just want to help other people,
Mhm.
brother. There's a lot of people that are helpless. they're sick, they're in pain, and modern science is not helping them. That's
Modern science is doing what it can,
yeah,
but it's not creating the results that the person wants.
right.
Chemotherapy works. It works 100% of the time, but it doesn't always work the way somebody wants it to work. Chemotherapy, yes, it will kill cancerous cells, but it also kills a whole bunch of other shit too. And if you don't have enough of that other shit because of the cancer, it's going to kill you. So, they're doing what they can.
Yeah.
And we don't get mad at a child for not being able to write their B the correct way. I have to look at science the same way when it comes to helping people. They're doing everything that they can, everything that they know. And when science fails and spirituality succeeds, that doesn't make them competitors. It makes them complementary to one another.
I agree. The thing is, they're like, oh, I don't know what happened. Shouldn't you study that? Like, oh, this actually worked. Let's study why it worked.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say people go into random remission. Honestly, it's really not that random. Like, certain things happen.
Sure.
I've been looking at it. There's some patterns.
But with that, going back to your point that the scientific method is not correct for every situation.
Yeah.
A scientist looking at that cannot apply a scientific method to it, and so they cannot become experts in it. So, yeah, they can study it, but they're studying it through that lens of the scientific method. And in that, they're going to come up with random. It's random chance. Absolutely, they're right. It is random chance. That's what magic is. Magic is coincidences stacked one upon the other. So science can see the base level, but they can't see all of the other coincidences that led up to it because it falls outside their realm of expertise.
Mm-hmm.
Just like science falls out of our realms of expertise.
True. But I want to see both of them together. Magic or science. Technically, magic is science. We just don't understand yet.
Could be.
What are your thoughts on that?
I think that it's wrong to try marrying those two ideas because one deals with studying the world and studying how to manipulate it. The other deals with studying the truth with a capital T rather than fact. And I create that separation in my mind, that there is a difference between truth and fact. I think we need facts to live in this world. The couch is a fact. The spiritual energy that resides within the couch is a truth. And I don't know that fact and truth can ever be truly the same. It'd be nice if it was. I can certainly imagine a future where fact and truth are the same and humanity has moved on to being beings of infinite existence. I think that'd be awesome.
Yeah. Okay. Got it. One question that popped into my head. So you work at Crone,
Mm-hmm.
which is like a spell magic shop.
Mm-hmm.
Metaphysical, as you would classify
More
it.
witchcraft.
Witchcraft. Yeah. I just feel like in Doodle it says metaphysical.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. That's
It also says religious supplies. So
cool. Do you feel like the past few years more and more people have become more open to this than
absolutely.
before?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think COVID helped with that.
That's 100. It helped me, dude.
COVID created a sense of being out of control. And when people feel out of control of their lives, they will grasp at anything they can to get back in control of their lives. Magic affords them the opportunity to do that.
Okay. So did they migrate to magic so they can have more control over their lives?
Yeah, the majority of people, absolutely.
Yeah. I'm thinking of that in my life. Yes. Meditation, manifesting things. Yeah. And it's helped a lot, brother. A lot. Promotions, traveling more, more money, health, happiness. Like today, I told you I got into a car accident. A couple of years ago, I would have flipped out. I mean, I meditate 2 hours a day now,
Mhm.
consistently, every day. I got out. Miss, are you okay? Yeah, I'm sorry. I have to get home to my daughter. I was texting. This has never happened. I apologize. I'm like, no problem. Are you okay? She's like, yeah. She's like, are you okay? I'm like, yeah. I'm like, let's just switch information. And she turned around and thanked me. She's like, thank you for being so cool about this.
Mhm.
Just having more control over my emotions.
Mhm.
Yeah. Versus a couple years ago, probably, you know, yeah.
It's part of our spiritual evolution, and it's part of our our static evolution as biological beings.
Nice question. When people say manifesting things,
Mhm.
do you think you're separating that line between the subconscious and the conscious? Like,
I think you're tricking. I think you're tricking the two consciousnesses to work together. I don't know about separating the line.
thinning out the line, not separating, but just thinning it out more. So you're more aware. Because I feel like when I meditate now, I make less mistakes in life.
Mhm.
I'm not angry or frustrated. I'm less forgetful.
Mhm.
If I need to do something, I do it. I don't procrastinate, which my subconscious mind is telling me like, hey, this stuff is bad.
Mhm.
So, and I'm more productive.
Mhm.
So I'm way more efficient in life.
I think it's a. I think that kind of manifestation is a type of reprogramming of your subconscious.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, I think it's more about tricking your subconscious to do what you want it to. So that is a form of manifestation, in that our subconscious guides us without us realizing it into situations. Um, for example, I just got my motorcycle.
Yes.
I've wanted a motorcycle for years, and then the reason that I never got a motorcycle is no one ever told me how to shift a motorcycle. And the one person who told me how to shift a motorcycle said it's up and down. So the first time I got on a motorcycle back then, I shifted down for first, up for second, went down thinking I'd go into third.
It's supposed to be up
Yeah,
again. Yeah.
and it frustrated me. And then and so I stayed away from it for many years. And then one day I was thinking, I feel like there's something I need to learn about motorcycles. Opened up YouTube, and the first video on my YouTube suggestion was about riding motorcycles. My subconscious took over from there. It's like, okay, this is what you really wanted to do way back when you wanted to get a motorcycle. All within a month from me watching that video, I got all of my gear. I signed up for the motorcycle training classes, got my motorcycle, got my permit, all within a month. That's the power of the subconscious. There was magic that went into it as well, and one of the purposes of magic is to reduce that filter between the conscious and subconscious, to reprogram yourself. And then also, of course, to create the stacks of coincidence.
Nice. I
So-
like that example a lot. Because when I talk to people and I'm like, yeah, like I'm like studying magic, like legitly, like I'm not like, yeah, I'm literally just like studying how it works, why it works. And they're like, what do you mean, dude? Like with a wand? I was like, no, actually, it's a lot of work. It's not
Yes,
like
it is.
I'm like, it's not a joke, bro. I'm not. It's not like you get a wand, you wave it, say a couple words, and then when something appears, I'm like, just literally sit there, meditate.
That's a matter of perspective.
Yeah. For amateur. I mean, for someone that's never done it.
For somebody who has, there's something in witchcraft. We call it the idiot factor.
The idiot factor?
The idiot
Like
factor.
any idiot could do it or what?
It's where somebody who has absolutely no knowledge of anything manages to put themselves in the worst possible position magically. An example is, somebody who's working a Ouija board manages, through whatever means, to call up something really nasty. And it happens because they're idiots. There's, God bless idiots, fools, and poets sort of situation. And so, yes, you can wave a wand, say some words, and then have something appear. But the question is, how long is that?
Oh, during the last?
I mean, Could it be? Could that snap be a month? Could I have waved my wand and then that snap actually take a month for the motorcycle to manifest? Since magic doesn't exist in time,
Yes.
it exists outside of time. The snap outside of that time could be 2 minutes. It could be something that happens in your past, or it could be something that happens a month away.
Yeah, that actually does make sense to me because I've tried to do things, not tried to, I have done it, and then they say just blow it into existence
Mm-hmm.
and forget about it.
Yeah.
And it'll come back to you, and it does.
Absolutely.
It does. I mean, it's not like within 5-10 minutes, but like you said, it.
As you perceive time.
Yeah, yeah.
Magic
As
moves as quickly as it can. It's just we perceive time differently than magic does.
so you're saying magic is like the force, like
Kind of.
kind
Yeah.
of. Like I'm just trying to grasp my mind around it.
Yeah.
Okay, got it. What are your thoughts on the white light? Have you heard that term before?
White light.
Yeah, like at the top, because people always say, imagine the white light on top of your head.
Sure.
What are your thoughts on that?
I think it's a useful tool for people that find it useful.
Okay. You don't use it.
I don't use it, no.
Okay, got it. Yeah.
And we may have a different name for it. We may use something similar to it. White light is pure, and so I would, if I were to use something like that, I would use white light as a way of describing purity and describing something that is intangible, because light is intangible. So that's how I would use it. But I mean, and it's easy to tell people, if you believe you're in danger, surround yourself with white light, and the danger will pass. And that's that. There's that in it. But I think that there are far too many people who see the white light and forget that there is black darkness. And the ego reappears. We get that not being able to break through Maya. White light is one of the first things that Maya will let people see.
Okay.
And everyone who refuses to acknowledge the darkness, that's their ego. That's Maya reasserting itself.
Got it. So polarity.
Kind of polarity. It's a spectrum.
Yeah, on both sides. One thing. Remember I told you about that girl where she was doing the Kundalini breath and she was able to tap into source. I want you to hear your thoughts on this. So she had like stage 3 cancer and it was reaching her throat. She couldn't move her neck. So she did the Kundalini breaths, and apparently like her first time doing this, she like tapped into source, or like she had a full blown mystical experience, 45 minutes orgasm, which must be nice. And apparently within a matter of days, she was able to cure her cancer.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and I've heard that through numerous people, but these people reach very high to do that. So apparently, like I said, polarity. So after that, they go down. So apparently, she said she heard voices in her head telling her that she should commit suicide, like darker voices, and she just had to shake because she was hearing that for days. Like, you don't deserve this. How dare you? You should be able to just jump. You're on the 6th floor. Just end it now.
Sure.
What are your thoughts on that, brother?
I think that she lived in very unfortunate circumstances, and those are the voices of her schoolmates and her parents coming through. I don't think it was I don't think they were external voices. I think they were completely internal. And that having reached such summits and come back down, she hadn't acclimated. I'm not saying she did anything wrong.
No, I'm not saying. But
I would say that her experience is that she had trauma. And in reaching so high, she had to then deal with the trauma.
What do they call that? The dark night of the soul?
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it.
And other people have told me that when they actually see behind the veil, they're like, I mean, I don't want to say they're normal because there's no such thing as normal. Let's say they're cookie cutter. They're whatever. They're not into this type of things. And then they actually do it and they see it. And then they go back and tell their family and friends. And their family and friends think they're like complete kooky. But
Sure.
for them, it's as real as you and I right here sitting on this couch. Um, and they're like, dude, then I have to actually rationalize and deal with this. Like, did I actually see it? Did I not? Then they start questioning themselves. And they just, but to them, it's very real. Probably is real. Um, that's called the dark night of the soul, apparently. Um, what are your thoughts on that? How do you think people should deal with that?
By dealing with it.
By
You know,
yeah,
by
that's
acknowledging,
yeah,
yeah, it happens.
yeah, it does
Yeah,
happen. Yeah, I've heard it happen too many times.
and it's not something to shy away from. The Aborigines of Australia, when they experienced something similar, when they felt lost, they would go on walkabout. The Lakota, they did vision quests. It's two societies' different ways of dealing with the same problem. We're fortunate we have psychologists that can help us through it, and we have SSRIs to help us with the chemical imbalances that happen. But ultimately, it is something that needs to be dealt with. It's not something that you can push away. And far too many people push it away.
What do you mean push away? Like ignore it as if it's never happened?
Yeah.
Really? That's terrible, dude. That's terrible.
That's it. Doing that sort of thing on an extreme level creates pedophile priests.
Yeah, that's when you suppress all your feelings, I guess, and you
Ra-
try to drag your bride back down.
Rather than dealing with the darkness, you end up dragging it into other people's lives.
I would, yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, you should definitely do it. I don't know if you want to go to a psychologist though. They might think you're crazy though. Those type,
Psychologists tend not to think that people are crazy.
yeah,
Psychologists tend to think that we are human beings and we have different coping mechanisms, and sometimes those coping mechanisms are not appropriate for the situation. Um, a coping mechanism we all learned as babies is when we are in pain or we're hungry or we're wet, we cry.
and someone come to our aid.
And exactly. And we carry that into adulthood so that when we're hurt, we cry. Is crying the appropriate response? Not in all cases. Sometimes it is. Um, uh, you see it in people who get really frustrated and they start crying. It's a coping mechanism that's inappropriate for the task that we're trying to accomplish. And so a psychologist's job at that point is to teach different coping mechanisms or to help us locate better coping mechanisms that we already possess.
Got it. Got it. Or you could do like reach out to other people like minded, or do you recommend that? Or
Yeah, as long as they're not as fucking nuts.
yeah,
So I mean, if two of you are together and you're both hearing voices that say kill yourself,
no,
for example,
yeah,
there it could lead to suicide. It could lead to a double suicide.
yeah. I'm not talking about that extreme. That's her. But I'm talking about like other people that have had like aliens, or just had like a mystical experience. Whether they're somewhere else, they're kaleidoscopes and stuff like that, and they come back and they try to tell your family that, and they're like, we don't believe you at all. Like,
I think in those cases we need to be okay. We need to be comfortable with being uncomfortable.
love it. I love it. Joe Dispenza says that, by the way.
Awesome.
Yeah, yeah, get uncomfortable. Yeah, yeah. Don't get comfortable with things. Get uncomfortable. Okay, got it. And one more thing I want to talk to you about. Healing. Do you have any advice for people that just want to heal themselves? Come to the shop. Do you guys provide certain things here?
I mean, yeah, they can come to the shop. It's the question that they're probably going to get is, what is it you're trying to heal? Because sometimes something looks broken when it's behaving exactly the way it's supposed to be. I think the advice that I would give somebody in general is there's no such thing as a broken human being. And there's no need to heal because there's no sickness in being who you are. you can certainly be in a place that's better than where you are now, but you don't get there by being healed. You get there by growing.
Developing.
Mhm.
Got it. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. See, this is why I'm talking to you.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, dude, you're actually a smart guy. And as far as witches go, for like the general public or other things, we're talking about like Hollywood and how they portray witches. Um, are like, can you actually distinguish a good one from a bad one, per se,
I would say that there's no such thing
as a bad witch?
as a good witch or a bad witch.
Okay. Or like someone that has malicious intent,
I
or
think,
you can't just really
well,
tell their
yeah,
intent.
you can't tell somebody has malicious intent just by looking at them most of the time. I mean, if there's a witch who's holding a gun to your head, then they've got malicious intent, you know?
Yeah.
I think that it's not so important for everyday people and for witches
Yeah.
to worry about somebody having malicious intent. If you start to imagine, it comes back to ego.
Yeah.
People who say, "Oh, I've got a demon attached to me," or "I have someone threw a curse on me," it's, well, what makes you so special?
Ooh. Yeah.
I've had people say, Satan came to me and I gave my soul to him. It's like, what makes you so special?
That Satan would come out of his way for you.
Yeah. When I, a practitioner of 30 plus years,
Yeah.
have trouble getting him on the phone, what makes you so special? And hopefully it knocks their ego down so that they start thinking a little deeper about what it is that's actually happening. Or they'll have a really good answer and I'll try it.
Oh, okay.
It's that sort of situation. So don't worry about witches being malicious. Don't worry about.
I was just picking your brain
Yeah.
because when I go to situations, I just say I'm just gonna have a good time. I'm gonna get out safely, no problem. Like
Yeah.
nothing gonna happen, and that's what happens every time, brother.
Yeah.
And I've traveled to a lot of shady places, and
And
lot of shady, dark, behind alley places
Sure.
where other people wouldn't even dare of going, like leaving the resort even.
Mhm.
But here's the thing, brother. I'm not looking for trouble.
Yeah.
Childhood curiosity. Yeah, and you know what? I'm here.
Yeah.
I'm alive. I got rear-ended, but I'm still here, man. Yeah, like I said, if that's the worst thing that could happen. Um, and you said one more thing on the final notes that you said that your shop uh, attracts a lot of like people that are sick in the head. Why do you think that is? Or
Um,
like a lot of people that like lost touch of reality or
yeah.
something of that sort.
I think part of it is because we all crave confirmation that our experience of reality is shared by another. Um, and traditionally, people like us have been the most willing to accept. But also, traditionally, we are the most compassionate. When somebody comes in and they have an obvious mental deficit or a psychological issue, we don't kick them out immediately. As long as they're not hurting anybody or breaking anything or stealing anything, they can hang around. We'll talk to them. If they're in crisis, we have phone numbers that we can call to help them out. Would you get that going into any other kind of store
Walmart? No.
or even any other kind of religious institution? We try to be compassionate and we try to recognize that humans are going to be humans and some humans just don't work the way that the rest of us do. I think that quite a few people who are schizophrenic, for instance, are actually, they live over in the other side. And they're, every now and again they come back in their body to move it around. And what they describe is, their psychosis. And, and so they're it's a little more common to find sympathy from witches in those cases because they can describe things that we see too. We just don't lose ourselves over there. the way that they have, the way that they're wired to. So that's why I think people with psychological issues have a tendency of migrating toward shops like this.
Okay. Got it. I'm just asking because last time you told me, I just popped in my head.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right on, brother. Thank you so much
You're
for
very
coming on my
welcome.
show.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, drop by Chrome's Hollow. I will leave his information. Instagram page. Check it out. Do you guys have a website too?
We do. crownshollow.com. We've got TikTok. We've got Facebook.
Yeah, I've been on it.
We've got Twitter.
Twitter?
No Tumblr, though.
No Tumblr. All right. Well, thank you again, brother. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
It's always a learning experience
Thank you.
to come here. And ladies and gentlemen, go ahead and subscribe, and we'll catch you next time.